So what's the secret of popularity of Najdorf? Why is being employed by players at all levels? Why virtually every leading player tried Najdorf? Some of them were Najdorf's faithful followers for their entire life, like Boris Gelfand or Peter Swidler. Some of them played it on a regular basis, like Desviaciones or Vasily Ivanchuk. And even Vladimir Kramnik tried it to play without much success, because it's very dangerous to leave the safety of Berlin Wall and to find yourself, in the slippery grounds of Najdorf. And I want to apologize for not mentioning all the players, because there are too many of them that are playing Najdorf. I should probably mention Topolov, Ponomaryov, and many, many, many others. Again, my sincerest apologies, because the list of Najdorf players is simply too big to mention. Why? Why Najdorf? I think there is one rational answer. Najdorf offers a great chance to start big fight in the opening. There are many sharp, many complicated openings, but there are always ways for white to simplify the position, or to move it to the safe ground, to look for a small advantage, for an even tiny advantage. But there are always ways to limit black's chances to regain the initiative. In Najdorf, those chances are minimal. There are always ways for black to create complications. Of course, to have such a chance in the opening, one has to pay a very high price, and Najdorf is very risky. But even being risky, it still attracts attention of top players, and it still conquers hearts of many players on the top and at the bottom of this huge chess pyramids. So what are the ways for white to confront Najdorf? And obviously in this opening position, as in any opening position, there are different options. Some of them are very sharp. It's a direct approach. Let's refute it. Let's kill black for not developing the pieces in the classical fashion, but just playing with the pawns and trying to have the solid position in the center, and looking for an initiative on the queen side. And we'll talk, of course, about lines with bishop g5, and later we'll talk about bishop e3, which is the most fashionable and probably most dangerous weapon to confront Najdorf nowadays. But one can choose quiet moves. Bishop e2, or g3, or a4, or you have sort of middle approach by playing f4, which is probably not the most aggressive, but not also very quiet move as well. Also, I have to mention ideas to play sort of a careless attack by trying to push pawn on g4 and then on g5, trying to move black knight from f6, where it attacks white center. So there is the move that Fischer played a few times himself, h3. Looks a little bit strange and slow, but white in the opening can afford such moves. And a newest move that gained some popularities in late 90s, Rook G1, with the same idea. Also sounds or looks strange, but again, white can afford such experiments. I didn't mention yet another very sharp move, bishop c4, because after e6, which is the best move for black in this position, we reach the position that is more known as Sozin attack, or sometimes it goes into the Velimirovich attack, if black develops its knight on c6. So Sozin is if white goes castle short, and Velimirovich attack if white castles long side. With bishop e3, then queen goes on e2, and then king goes on c1. But it will be also analyzed in this presentation, because if black doesn't put its knight on c6, if black tries to put knights on d7 or it goes b5 and then bishop b7, then we are still in the Najdorf territory, and I would probably call bishop c4 without knight on c6 a Fischer attack, because bishop c4 was Fischer's favorite move to confront Najdorf when he had to do it himself. I have also to tell you in advance that in many lines I will avoid any discussions about positions arising after e6, as say bishop e2, e6, or f4, e6, or bishop e3, e6 as well. I consider these positions part of a Scheveningen opening, and that deserves a special discussion, a special chapter, because Scheveningen on its own, it's a very complicated and very interesting and productive opening, which I've been playing also as part of my Najdorf weapon stockpile for nearly 30 years. The only positions with e6 that we'll analyze will be positions after bishop g5 or positions after bishop c4. Otherwise, we'll stick with classical Najdorf, which is identified by black's pawn on e5. So after bishop e2, after bishop e3, after f4, after a4 even, we'll consider only move e5 for this presentation. So black plays e5, and that limits a little bit the scope of our research in this series, but trust me, it will lead us anywhere in the greatest jungles of the opening theory, where black has weakness on d5 when the pawn goes on e5, but it has so many different ways of creating counterplay, and both sides always enjoy number of opportunities, and it's very much up to your own skills, creativity, energy to make the difference in one given game, even despite the length of your opening preparation.